Welcome back, my friends. Thank you for joining me. As usual, let's begin with some comfortable, neutral standing posture. Softening, noticing all of those places that you are holding onto and clenching for no reason. Simply paying attention to them and allowing them to open. I'd like to introduce, while we stand here, an important idea, an important differentiation that is useful in every area of our practice and changes the quality of our practice dramatically. And this is often, without using the Chinese, the difference between intention, as though I'm intending to do something, and attention, which is this quiet awareness, this open field of awareness that has no intention to it. There's no force, there's no gripping, there's no pushing of my ideas. It's simply present as it is. And it's important to understand the role of both, how to engage them and how not to engage them. And so for this, I'd like to use my fantastic prop, this cup of tea. Wonderful tea. And so this tea, the Hong Pao, is in my hand. And I can notice the warmth from it. It's very warm. I just poured it. I can notice the steam. I am observing the steam. I can smell the fragrance. Very nice, kind of roasty. I can taste it, just to make you jealous. And all of these qualities of my senses are present, and they don't require any pushing of my ideas. The heat from my hands is present there as long as I am attentive to that space. I don't have to say to myself, I'm going to try to feel that heat. That would be too much. And in fact, if you imagine that as I'm holding this thing, it's a little bit too hot, that as I hold it and it burns my hand, if I started to try to notice the heat more. So I'm paying attention, the heat's present, I notice my hand, I notice the burning feeling. And if I suddenly started to try harder, to push more of my intention in that space, if I tried to squeeze my mind and really notice the heat, there's this quality of gripping with my mind that starts to happen. I'm no longer allowing the experience to be there. I'm no longer making space enough in my mind to be attentive to that space, but now I'm obsessing over how I want it to be. So instead of being here with the cup and the sensation, I'm maybe up here in my head with my ideas about how I want to experience that tea. And then to drink it, if I'm going to sip the tea, if I'm simply attentive to my experience, I'm paying attention to how I feel, I'm noticing the tea that's there, it's beckoning to me, the tea. And by simply noticing that presence, how much work does my mind have to do in order to take a sip and swallow? Maybe if I've had a stroke and I'm having to relearn how to do those things, or if I'm a very small child learning how to hold and sip and swallow without spilling all over myself. But at some point, those skills have been obtained, hopefully mastered. And simply by having the smallest intention, the smallest idea that, yes, I will sip my tea, or the smallest intention that, no, I'm not going to sip my tea right now because it's too loud for the microphone, or something. That tiny idea is enough to either keep me from sipping it or allowing me to sip it. If I have the tiny idea, I'm going to put the tea over there, I have a little shelf here, is that, do I have to sit here and go, okay, tea goes over here, tea traveling over here? Perhaps if I'm dealing with a kind of dementia, that kind of retained intention is very important because the intention keeps fluttering away. And that's a kind of imbalance from our perspective. It's a kind of illness that can be healed, hopefully. And I hope that you're getting a sense of the difference between intention and attention. Attention is the field here within which that I'm standing of awareness. Intention is then what I try to do with my mind in those spaces, how I try to direct my experience. And if I'm standing here and I glance over at my tea, so I'm going to have the vague idea to glance over at my tea. I did it. You see it? I'll do it again. It's pretty amazing. Look at that. My body responded. And I did not have to squeeze my mind and create this strong experience. Okay, now I have looked upon the tea. Now mind gaze will transcend that experience and return to you. Not necessary. A little bit too much, we might say. And the issue here is that is how most people do their meditation and their Qigong practice. And you could see how it turns into just a mess if we engage in the world that way. I'm going to step. Oh, here comes the next step. Get it right. Okay, wait here. Make sure the toes don't hang back too long. Oh, no. And the more that we do that, the more that we get in our own way. So we stand. We release. We create open space. And the more that we think about our experience and try to control our experience, the less available our actual lived experience becomes, because we're caught more in the idea of the experience than the living process itself. So continuing to stand and noticing how you are in your standing. If I say release your shoulders, in the very beginning, perhaps, for people that have never learned how to relax, and I'm hearing from you all the time, you people that are still figuring out what it means to relax a muscle, that is an extreme state of being, and it's very, very important that you take the time to learn how to let go. There are genuinely people that I talk to who they can't tell the difference between a fist and a relaxed hand position. They don't know the difference between this and this. And for them, any kind of practice where they're learning how to let go, even in the smallest way, so that your system can learn that difference and your nervous system is able to unclench a little bit, incredibly important. For those of us that have moved a little further along that path, and now that we know the difference, we're learning how to apply it to our system, notice that it does not take a lot of effort, that if your hands are clenched and your shoulders are gripping, all it takes is noticing that you're doing that. And at one point or another, someone said, hey, it's better to relax. Or you've noticed, hey, it makes me feel better when I relax. That's all it takes, is that one moment. However long ago it was, maybe you had a teacher say, hey, relax. If you haven't had that teacher yet, you have me saying, hey, relax. And now, that intention that you've borrowed from me is enough to carry you forward for the rest of your life through your practice. That's all it takes. That's exactly how much intention is required here. Not a lot. It's a homeopathic dose of intention. You are softening. So now, simply by noticing, by allowing your attention to notice that tension within your body, sorry, this is in English, there's a lot of words that overlap and sound the same here. That's enough to release that clenching. That's enough to ease open your body. And in fact, simply bringing your attention to spaces in your body is often enough to help them begin to rebalance and heal. It's a fantastically powerful quality. And what is it that gets in the way of attention? Intention. It comes in here, it covers it up. And you begin living in the world of your thoughts about something rather than the actual experience of life. Attention is always pure living. It's the actual thing that's happening. So as you stand, noticing how you open, continuing to release and release, letting go, feeling into your system. Noticing the places where your clear attention is resting and moving without any help from you, without any pushing and pulling on your mind. And then notice when your intention and your thoughts get in the way, and notice how they actually block your capacity to feel and to be in the present moment. That's why in Taoist practice and in all of these internal methods, we refer to this quality of intentless intent, which is to say, that intention that maybe your teacher gave you 10 years ago. The smallest intent, like the intent to sip from my tea or the intent to glance over, it's so small you might not even notice it. It doesn't matter. It's not in the way of your actual experience. It doesn't require a lot. And by simply being here and allowing the attention to become full without hindrance or obstruction, quiet and resting. You can't squeeze your attention, you can only obstruct it. And allowing your intention, that part of your mind, to rest. Just another 10 minutes or so. Continuing to soften, open in the ways that we've been practicing. Noticing the difference between this pure light of consciousness, your attention, and the thinking, doing mind that's attempting to control circumstances, your intention. Noticing how light the intention can be in order to make adjustments. Perhaps you remember that our goal is to release through to the ground, and that allows the release upward of the body. The body hangs upward into the heavens. Neck releases, the top of the head falls up as the shoulders sink down. The fingers lengthen toward the earth, crown of the head falls upward, and that disinhibits and opens this space. In the back, the whole spine lengthens. As your lower back releases, your tailbone sinks. And perhaps that intention has not quite yet become clear in your practice. And so as I was saying them, you were reminded. And suddenly you went, oh, and you released in those directions and changed your posture slightly. Maybe your knees are locked. And by my pointing that out, your attention goes to that space and you realize your knees are locked and you release them. You soften your hips a little bit, allow that free flow through to the ground again. Simply by calling your attention to that space and recalling that very slight intention that I gave you, it was enough to adjust your whole posture. You don't need to think about it or try or review it. As soon as you notice it, again, you let go of your intention and you rest with that pure attention in the present moment. And when you're ready, closing. This very slight intention of sinking and settling. You're at sea, meditating on that space between the navel and the spine if you're able to, or at least at the navel level. And then once that intention is set, doesn't take much, simply allow that clear presence to rest in the middle without any commentary or striving. And then gently circulating. Set the intention to make, let's say, 18 spirals progressively larger outward as your awareness expands through the middle. Once that intention is there, simply observe. You don't have to direct it. Both directions, spiraling back in. I had a meditation teacher that referred to it as taking your hands off of the steering wheel. You don't have to control every inch of this. Simply let it happen. Be the observer, neutrally experiencing, feeling through your body. And grab a seat. Get comfortable if you like. Getting nice and comfortable. So remember again, let me remind you, let me refresh your intentions so you don't have to do them yourself. The body is aligned, crown of the head falling upward, shoulders over the centers of the hips. Make sure that the weight is just in front of those sitting bones. So you're not sitting back this way, but rather, here's the bones for me, those ischial tuberosity, the little pointy points that stick out there. The weight folds forward and my body is straight enough so that the weight falls in front of those. It can fall a little bit onto them, but primarily in front, depending on your body type, of course. What you want is to make sure that the weight is not falling onto your tailbone, onto your lower back. So scooting to the front of your chair if needed, and then adjusting yourself, get comfortable. So that's your intention. Your intention here is to perhaps practice the Song Jing breath that we've been working with for the past 50 or so days. Exhaling, releasing obstructions in your body. But if you notice that your busy intention, your busy mind, is one of those chief obstructions for your attention, your clear conscious awareness, then as you exhale, part of what you're exhaling is that agitation of the mind, because that's what that is. This need to control is the same as tension in your jaw, clenching of your hands. This is your mind. And simply by having that quiet intention to release, you could even have the intention to release strong intent, to release control and forcing, management of your process. Instead, simply knowing that bringing awareness to that space allows it to fall open. Bringing gentle awareness to the quality of your mind allows it to calm. It takes practice, which is why we're here, but there's nothing complicated about it. In the beginning, the only complexity to it is learning how to disentangle the difference between that pure light of awareness and the busy mind. And that too just takes practice. So taking as long as you need to settle and open. Letting go and letting go. Today, something slightly different. Let's move directly into regular, quiet sitting practice, not doing any special breathing technique. But when your mind starts to come in with that control, when you notice the tendency for your intention to come in strongly to try to judge and control and manage your experience, then treat it like any kind of tension that you've been practicing. Exhaling, calming that part. And then as you inhale, allow that pure attention to strengthen. Just simply becoming more clear about your experience without all the noise, without the restrictions of your mind. You're simply here, and that's it. And you can exhale that agitation, inhaling that stillness whenever you need. And then return again to regular quiet sitting practice. Sitting and forgetting about that quality of your mind. Just another 10 minutes of quiet sitting. Get ready. I'll do a quicker version today for the days when you are finishing quickly and leaving. Instead of going through the full massage routine, it's good to have another way. You always want to end with some kind of settling. So this is the speedy version. Softening on your eyes and then softening over the top of your head, down the back of your neck, pulling down the front center line of the body, to the belly, around to the lower back. Don't tighten your shoulders or your neck. And then gently releasing from the back, down the legs, tops of the legs, off of the feet, off of the second toe, more or less, down into the ground. So that's the fast way to sink and to settle. But of course, you can always spend time rubbing and massaging as you need to. So your homework is to pay attention to this difference between clear attention, the clear light of presence, which is what you are, and the mind that's managing your experience. And they're not the same, first of all, and that one is much more important to your practice than the other. Notice those qualities that already incorporate that intentless intent. Again, oh, I'm thirsty. So I grab my tea. Didn't take a lot of effort. Didn't take a lot of planning. I didn't have to manage my experience. There's magically tea in my hand. Pretty soon, I'll swallow it, and magically, it'll even digest and absorb on its own. It's like magic. And so don't control every experience. That's part of tension and agitation. It's part of what we are trying to put down with this practice. It's part of what we're healing, that imbalance. So take your time with this. Keep it up every day. Remember that this quality, this difference, nourishing the attention as part of our practice must be present in every Qigong practice, every Tai Chi method, every Bagua circle walking, every meditation session. This is how we're building these qualities. So don't skip it. Very important, very nourishing and worthwhile. And notice how it changes how you feel about your experience as you engage in this difference. Enjoy your practice. So good.